Do you ever work with the polarized issues shown on this slide? From trauma to depression to workplace challenges and chronic stress, there are issues and areas that are often critical to address. In my experience, these pairs of extremes are always at play in one way or another, requiring our attention and intervention. On the slide you are looking at, I've detailed some terms derived from different approaches. In some cases, they have almost identical meanings, while in others, they highlight different aspects. However, a common thread connects each of these polarities. A current dysfunctional state, often unrecognized by the individual, characterized by specific characteristics and mechanisms. On the other side, a desired state, typically unrealistic, possibly rooted in faulty learning or external perceptions, and ultimately non functional. You are probably already familiar with some of these patterns as you help people clarify their situations and seek mediations through various techniques and tools. Here I have highlighted just a few of the more common methods, although there are many more out there. An appropriate question is how we can further explore these issues, foster awareness, change modalities, and cultivate new resources. Integrating the latest neuroscience findings with these themes provides an effective, pragmatic approach. Let's briefly examine some key mechanisms before discussing their practical applications. First of all, science tells us that our brain assigns specific tasks to different areas for each of these three states. For an accurate representation of the current state, free from biases, distorted self images, perceptual schemas, cognitive biases, implicit learning, traumatic memories, and other potential interferences, the prefrontal cortex strives for the utmost objectivity. Cognitive tools that aid in this quest are invaluable. However, as we'll explore in the next slide, the complexity of the system goes beyond this first step. The predicted state or realistic goal state must be achievable in tangible reality. Thus, the premotor cortex, among others, generates concrete predictions about possible outcomes of certain choices or behaviors. The ideal state, composed of factors that influence our desires and self perception, such as motivations, desires, self image, compensations, needs, requires careful consideration by our brain. It is crucial to clarify and consider these aspects in their entirety, as focusing on only one aspect. For example, motivation, needs, self image can be limiting. A comprehensive, balanced analysis is essential. At these three levels, numerous interventions complement our standard practices. However, the complexity of our brain requires a deeper exploration of additional mechanisms. To properly assess one's current state, it is essential to emphasize the unity between cognitive thinking, self regulatory processes, and emotions. As it is said, thinking is embodied, and our processes of choice, like any other mental function, are embodied. Inputs, both interoceptive, related to physiological states, and external, involving the environment and others, significantly influence sensory and interoceptive areas, which in turn impact the prefrontal cortex's pursuit of objectivity. We will revisit intervention strategies for these areas in the second segment of the video, following this analysis. Another key step is performed by the anterior cingulate cortex, which is responsible for selecting the best possible strategy to achieve our goals. To accomplish this task, integrates the information gathered and processed by the two related areas. Two central elements that influence the choice of how to proceed are: how flexible are our plans of action for the future, and what are the factors of unpredictability and how are they handled. Upon a positive evaluation, the optimal solution is selected, reprocessed for reliability, and then is initiated through the primary motor areas, thereby cultivating positive external behavior that is beneficial to our adaptive and developmental processes. In addition, this approach reinforces a strong sense of agency, reflecting our impact on the world and control over actions. Conversely, when the anterior cingulate cortex negatively evaluates our strategy as inadequate to our goals, it triggers protective adaptive mechanisms, namely stress responses. With these insights in mind, let's explore how we can support these mechanisms, enhancing self-regulation mechanisms and properly integrating information from both internal activation state, dysregulation, available resources, physiology, and external sources, contextual and relational cues, social norms, triggers, cultural factors, etc., takes advantages of our mind's innate predictive abilities. Managing predictive loops and circuits that often misinterpret past experiences or overlook new information and perspectives requires addressing the following issues: misgeneralization of past experiences, neglecting new information and the perspectives of others, engaging in dysfunctional implicit learning, traumatic and somatic memories, and other dysfunctional processes. Specific techniques, such as possible scenarios, parallel worlds, and turn your mind, increase clarity, awareness, and integration of emotional processes with objective information gathering. Sometimes intervention is needed even before gathering of information from the inner or outer worlds begins. An overactivated body and an overexcited mind impede accurate data collection. In addition to stabilization techniques, other methods include boundary perception exercises, reboot techniques for rebooting sensory and perceptual nervous system processes, neurohacking techniques for dismantling automatic responses and allowing free choices, integration of interoception, posture, and emotions. Significant and rapid results can be achieved by working in two critical areas: freedom of movement, both mental and physical, and accurate assessment and use of physical resources. The importance of body awareness is paramount in any work, even seemingly unrelated to the body, due to the essential role of motor and premotor areas in adaptation and development. We have developed specific techniques that take into account the neurobiological and mental mechanisms behind mastery, agency, and active engagement with the world. Essential techniques include micromovements for increased awareness and precision control, psychosomatic stretching and release techniques to release old somatic memories and associated dysfunctional patterns, isometric emotions for promoting physical, mental, and emotional strength and action, interpersonal accommodation to address physical conditions of suffering as they relate to interactions with others. Our brain, at some point, tries to choose the best possible strategy to achieve our goals. The existence of at least one viable strategy is a prerequisite. The brain prefers to have multiple options, each with varying degrees of flexibility. This approach, which is reasonable and logical, increases our chances of success by providing flexible, varied strategies. Techniques such as contingency management or multiple visualizations are beneficial. My recommendation is a multifaceted intervention that includes synergy between cognition and imagination through ideographic thinking, developing cognitive and emotional flexibility with modular thinking and pre-solution techniques, diversification of behavioral and emotional repertoires with possible scenarios and emotion and behavioral modulation with post-its, focusing on the salience network, especially the somatic integration processes of the insula. Lastly, our entire organism, especially our brain, is highly responsive to uncertainty and unpredictability. We can use various tools and approaches to train mental, behavioral, communicative, and relational flows for rapid activation and a broad repertoire of context appropriate responses. Address core ancestral needs and ensure their fulfillment under changing external conditions and social environments. Analyze and develop one's relational network to create a balanced and ethical power map. Apply risk management tools for calculated decision making that respects both cognitive and emotional brain functions. Thank you for your attention. I hope this presentation has provided valuable insights for your next engagement with these issues. For those interested in further exploration of these and other work patterns, as well as the techniques I mentioned and more, our book and the Professional Master in Applied Integrative Sciences offer a comprehensive methodology and numerous tools to expand your professional scope.